Welcome to WooCommerce 101 for Performance Growth Security webinar by MiniOrange. My name is Vedansh Mishra and I am a software engineer at MiniOrange. In this webinar, I'll present the learnings that I have gained from helping around 200 plus customers with solutions around WooCommerce and WordPress. So before we start with the webinar, let's just have a quick overview about us. So MiniOrange has been working in the cybersecurity space from over last 12 years. And talking specifically about WordPress, we have around 50 plus plugins uh, specific to WordPress on the WordPress marketplace. Okay. Now, starting with the webinar, let's have a look at our agenda. So, firstly, we'll have a look at the importance of WooCommerce in the e-commerce space and its business impact. Then we'll have a look at a basic checklist that is needed to build and drive a new age WooCommerce store. The third part will be to discuss some strategies around performance optimization and error logging on your WooCommerce store. And lastly, we'll have a look at some basic guidelines that needs to be followed while you're writing any code for WooCommerce. Okay, starting with understanding the role of WooCommerce in the e-commerce space. So 31% of the top 1 million e-commerce sites are built via WooCommerce. So this stat in itself highlights that WooCommerce is built in such a way that it is suited for all businesses, whether they are small businesses, whether they are large corporations, and it is trusted across various industries, whether it's education, whether it's healthcare, whether it's government, etc. So over here, if you can see, we have added a few examples of some of the businesses across industries that flew like a rocket when they used WooCommerce. So let's just start with healthcare. So under healthcare, there is a brand called Doma, which saw a 350% year-on-year growth with WooCommerce in the year 2024. And they did that by just integrating their WooCommerce subscriptions with CRM. Then there is a company under healthcare called Top Life Project. They surpassed their revenue goals by 59% in the first year itself. The great thing about this company was they didn't use any plugins. They just used the features, the native features provided by WooCommerce. Now moving to government organizations. So there is a government organization called BirdLife International Australia, and they sold calendars worth 4.5K within the first week of going live. The value of a single product that they sold was $23. And they achieved this staggering sales number within the first week of going live just by integrating their WooCommerce order data with the CRM so that they can have a better order management and better insights into the order data which they get from their store. Then moving on to education. So there is a platform called Go, and it's basically a photography learning platform. And they integrated WooCommerce with Sensei elements to build a full-fledged photography learning platform. Then moving on to the food and beverage industry. So there's a company called Dano, which achieved on an average 400 monthly orders. And they did this by integrating WooCommerce with a social media platform called TikTok via an automation tool, by a marketing automation tool. Then coming to Universal Yums, so they built a multi-million-dollar business with WooCommerce and a $2K investment, and they did that by integrating their site with an email marketing tool called MailChimp. Then moving on to the apparel industry, a brand called Drift migrated to WooCommerce just because they loved the customizability that WooCommerce provides. And after the migration, within the first year itself, their sales grew by 50%. The reason they migrated to WooCommerce was because they were facing a lot of issues with failed payments then they migrated to WooPayments. So from these examples, you can see that WooCommerce can take a business to new heights, and how to achieve it. that is something we will be discussing it in the upcoming topics of this session. So apart from these case studies, one or two more great things about WooCommerce is it is one of the most customizable e-commerce site builder, and it provides you the access to more than 600 plus themes and 5,000 plus plugins. So this basically provides businesses the flexibility to customize their store as per their business requirements. Along with this amazing customization ability, the best thing about WooCommerce is that it's an on-premise solution. And due to this, the data never leaves your network boundaries. And if the data is not going out of your network, then it's not on the mercy of any third-party cloud provider. Now, let's have a look at the business impact it can have if you plan to use any other e-commerce store builder than WooCommerce. So let's have a look at a small comparison between Shopify Plus and WooCommerce. So Shopify Plus starts at $24K per year, plus they charge 0.15% of the transaction fees on all the sales. Whereas in case of WooCommerce, there is no mandatory platform fees and no forced transactional charges. Going on with the comparison with Salesforce B2C Commerce Cloud, so it charges for the basic license an amount of 2% of your gross merchandise value per year. Whereas in case of WooCommerce, there is no revenue piece faced. With the case with Wix e-commerce, there is a subscription plan which starts from $23 per month to $500 per month. And if you are an enterprise, then there is a heavy custom license fees that you need to pay. Whereas in case of WooCommerce, there is no subscription plan. So by looking at these examples, if you see, some of these alternatives are charging you on the basis of transactions or on the basis of gross merchandise value. It is like taking a share out of your business revenue. Apart from that, your data also goes on the end of these cloud platforms, and your data is at the mercy of these cloud providers. So basically, they can do anything with that particular data what they want. Okay, so that was a basic overview of how WooCommerce has impacted the e-commerce space and businesses across the globe. Now we'll have a dive into the technicalities of WooCommerce and the components that are needed in the new age to set up and scale a business on WooCommerce. Okay. So starting with a basic checklist to build and drive a new age WooCommerce store. In this, we'll cover inventory and warehouse management, customer login, registration and role management, how you can increase customer engagement and sales, and how you can analyze order data of your WooCommerce store. So starting up with inventory and warehouse management. So while setting up a WooCommerce store, the first step is to have an inventory management to make sure that your store never runs out of product. This is basically needed for businesses that can manage their inventory, keep up their store up to date, and utilize their warehouse to deliver the product as early as possible to the customer, and by burning less cash on the shipping costs. So there are different ways in which you can get the inventory set up and keep it up to date. So the first one is basically the bulk update. So you can perform bulk update of your product inventory in two ways. First one is manual bulk update, and the second one is automatic bulk update. The manual bulk update can happen using the CSV import feature of the WooCommerce, wherein you can get the product details within a CSV, and then you can directly upload that CSV within your WooCommerce store. For automatic bulk update, you can use WordPress crons and WooCommerce CRUD layer and REST APIs. So in automatic bulk update, what you can do is you can schedule WordPress crons to run at a certain intervals and check if there are any updates in the inventory. And if there are any, then you can use APIs to pull those updates and save those updates within the WooCommerce database using the WooCommerce CRUD layer or using WooCommerce REST APIs. Moving on, uh, you can automate stock management using real-time sync in WooCommerce. So, uh, from a personal point of view, the bulk updates look like an older way to me. The cooler way would be to have an inventory updates to be done in real time. You can use WooCommerce actions or webhooks to know when an order is getting placed. And at the time of checkout, you can make an API request either to your inventory or to a CRM, whatever is handling your product, to update the product quantity. Apart from that, what you can also do uh, to check the low stock is you can create custom webhooks in WooCommerce to notify you that when a certain product inventory has gone below a certain quantity, then WooCommerce should notify you about a product's low quantity. And then you can make an API request to the alert notification API of your inventory management system that this product has low quantity within your inventory. Then moving on to warehouse management. So warehouse management is basically needed so that businesses doesn't burn a lot of cash on shipping cost and provide the customer with the product as early as possible. So when an order gets placed on the WooCommerce, its shipping should automatically be routed to the nearest warehouse according to the customer's location. This basically ensures that the cash burn on the shipping cost is less and the customer is getting the product as early as possible, making the end user experience very seamless. Now, once the store's inventory and warehouse management is sorted, then it's necessary to have a user access management in place so that you can prevent unauthorized access of user or customer to the store. Uh, while doing this, you also need to make sure that the authorized user has only the capabilities they require. Like a third-party vendor should only have the capability to set up the plugin and not to edit the data related to order or product. So there are a few ways using which a store's user access management can be sorted. Uh, First one is enforcing multi-factor authentication for users. So this is something which should be enforced for at least high privileged users like admins or shop managers, and they should be required to verify their identity using an authentication app, a push notification, or as SMS or email code. By doing this, even if an attacker gets access to the login credentials of these high privileged users, the multi-factor authentication will block the access without a second authentication. Then what you can do is you can secure user logins with single sign-on. So by using single sign-on, you can allow your users to log in using a trusted identity provider like Okta, Microsoft Azure, or Google Workspace. This basically reduces the risk of reused passwords. And by implementing single sign-on, you implement a centralized user authentication system. A centralized user authentication system basically uh, allows you to enforce company-wide login policies like password rotation, IP restriction, or automatic deactivation of inactive users, etc. Also, a centralized user authentication system makes it easier for store managers to manage user access, especially when there are multiple tools which are used within your organization other than WooCommerce. Then comes is enforcing least privilege principle while assigning user roles. So what least privilege principle is? So least privilege principle states that users should only have access to the features required for their role. And this basically reduces the risk of accidental or malicious changes on your WooCommerce store. For example, If you purchase multiple plugins from a vendor and you need to grant access to an external individual like a freelancer or an external developer to set up those plugins for you, then it is important to create a dedicated role for that particular user. And this role should only include the permissions for the setup of those plugins and not grant high privilege access rights uh, like admin access or shop manager access to that particular user. Also, under least privilege principle, you should periodically review the user permissions and revoke them if a particular user have unnecessary permissions. This basically prevent uh, a privilege creep within your WooCommerce store. Now, moving on. So, increasing customer engagement and sales of a WooCommerce store is one of the most important part of a business in order for it to survive. So, here are a few techniques that you can use to achieve it. But just FYI that these are the suggestions because when it comes to sales and every business has a unique way to drive sales and everything might not work for everyone. So, yeah, it's just a suggestion. So the first one is to use a CRM. So basically, what you can do with the CRM is you can sync your order, product, and customer data uh, from your WooCommerce stores to CRMs like Salesforce, Dynamics, Odoo, etc. CRMs can run their algorithms on this data for future revenue forecasting. Also, nowadays CRMs like Salesforce has tools like Einstein AI, which helps you to get more insights into the data using AI. Apart from that, these CRMs can get you insights into the customer's purchase history, and accordingly, you'll be able to plan the future action items like running region-specific marketing campaigns and etc. Also, you can like improve your customer support uh, by using CRMs. You can like easily track the customer queries within your CRM. Uh, this all CRMs will also provide you the ability to run uh, an analysis on your customer query data and provide you the analytics data on using which you'll be able to decide that on which things your product needs to improve on. Also, by improving the customer support, your the word of mouth for a particular product also improves. Then the second one is to implement a loyalty points program. So uh, currently, what I have seen is implementing a loyalty points program is the talk of the town. Popular tools like Booking.com has implemented a loyalty program called Genius, and Airbnb has a loyalty program called Superhost. And these are some memberships which are awarded to customers only if they make purchase or of till certain amount. So to implement a loyalty points program, uh, what you can do is you can encourage repeat purchases. You can reward customers for making purchases uh, or referring to friends or engaging or interacting just with the store. Also, what you can do is you can create a tier-based management system for providing good incentives to much more loyal customers. Like you can implement a multi-tier loyalty program wherein a customer will unlock additional benefits like exclusive discounts or early access to sales as soon as they make some purchases and accumulate some points. Moving on to analyzing orders and customers data. So this is basically a feature which WooCommerce didn't provide for a long time, and that's why people needed to connect their WooCommerce store with tools like Tableau for analytics. However, they have started to provide it now. Um, Now WooCommerce provides basically a built-in analytics for insights into a store's sales, order trends, customer activity. It also provides you to generate reports, and that feature is basically called WooCommerce reports, and it helps you to identify the best sellers, analyze average order values, and monitor the conversion rates. Uh, if somehow you are not happy with the analytics provided by WooCommerce reports, WooCommerce also allows you to export the data, and then you can uh, provide that data to an external platform like Power BI for advanced analytics. So that was about how you can improve. That was how about how you can improve uh, the business of your WooCommerce store. Now we'll dive a bit deeper into the strategies of using WooCommerce's technicalities, like how you can create a high performance WooCommerce store using its storage, APIs, webhooks, etc. So in this, we'll cover the following topics, like what is the difference between WooCommerce storage, uh, like HPOS versus legacy. Then we'll explore how we can write common code for both storage methods. Then we'll have a look at the performance optimization strategy. And then we'll have a look at the proper error logging and debugging technique. So starting with the comparison between the database structure of the uh, two storage types, HPOS versus legacy. So in legacy, WooCommerce stores data in WordPress post and post meta tables. Whereas in case of HPOS, which is high performance order storage, order data is stored within dedicated tables created by the WooCommerce plugin. Now, due to the database structure, the HPOS performs 5 times better than the legacy storage. This happens because legacy storage uses WordPress post and post meta data tables, uh, which are built for storing default WordPress post, custom post, and pages. And every time a query is run to fetch the order data from that particular table, then the joiners and the joiners are very heavy. Whereas in case of HPOS, the orders are stored in a dedicated table. This reduces the query complexity, and it also reduces the amount of data in which lookups needs to be performed. Then moving on to the scalability factors, as in case of legacy, as the orders are stored in WordPress post and post meta table, uh, the as the order volume increases, the table grows exponentially, uh, leading to inefficient indexing and larger auto increment values. And this basically increases the querying time. In the post meta table, especially, uh, it suffers from excessive row growth due to its ambiguous key value structure, which makes the join operations and the where conditions lower. Whereas in case of HPOS, dedicated tables are used by WooCommerce, and it is specially structured for transactional data. Uh, in case of HPOS, the indexing was optimized for common queries like getting ordered via customer or via order status or via date. Also, uh, in case of HPOS, the foreign key relationships are are established. So this basically reduces the number of queries a WooCommerce need to run for metadata retrieval. Then moving on to reliability, in legacy storage, uh, since order data is mixed up with WordPress posts, then it gets difficult to backup or restore just the order data without affecting the rest of the site. If a database crash occurs, recovering orders separately is complex and time consuming. Additionally, WordPress lacks built-in mechanism to prevent race conditions when multiple processes attempt to update the same order simultaneously. In case of HPOS, dedicated tables for e-commerce specific data storage allowed targeted backups and faster recovery. In case of HPOS, there are locking mechanisms in place which prevent multiple processes from modifying the same order simultaneously, and this basically reduces the risk of erase conditions and data inconsistency. So HPOS was released by WooCommerce in October 2023, and all new installations of WooCommerce are by default on HPOS. So HPOS provides up to 5 times improvement in order creation and up to 1.5 times improvement on checkout. On the operational side, retrieving an order is also now 40 times faster if a business is using HPOS than legacy. So if your WooCommerce store is on legacy and you want to migrate it to HPOS, then you can easily do that. WooCommerce itself provides you the option to do it. And here are the 2 ways how you can achieve it. So first one is using the WooCommerce UI. So you just need to go into WooCommerce and enable HPOS under WooCommerce settings. Once you do that, background actions will be scheduled automatically. WooCommerce schedules a background action called WC schedule pending batch process to check for the orders that are present within the legacy storage but are not present in the HPOS, and then it backfiles the orders from legacy storage to HPOS. Now, if you want to run this process manually, then you can go to WooCommerce status and then to scheduled actions, and then find WC run batch processes and then click run. At a time, 25 orders are backfiled, and the action for backfiling of the next 25 orders are scheduled automatically. Once both the tables are synced, your store can easily switch to HPOS. Okay. Now the second way is using the WP CLI. So in case of WP CLI, you just need to run the command WP WC cort sync, and it basically easily migrates your order data from legacy storage to HPOS storage. And WooCommerce developers claim that this is much more faster than the one using WooCommerce UI. Okay. Now moving on to writing common code. So while you write any code for a WooCommerce store, uh, one needs to make sure that the code is compatible with both legacy and HPOS storage. Since WooCommerce released HPOS storage, there have been multiple occurrences where store managers migrated from legacy to HPOS, and some plugins on their site were not HPOS compatible. Even to this date, most of the plugins are not compatible with HPOS type storage. And what this results in is basically downtime of a store, thereby affecting the business. Here are some methods which you can follow to write common code for both WooCommerce storage types. Once once Yeah. So the first method is to use the WooCommerce CRUD layer. So instead of using the SQL queries or WordPress post function to interact with the database, you should use the WooCommerce CRUD layer. The WooCommerce CRUD layer automatically detects the storage type and interacts with the database accordingly. This basically makes your whole integration future-proof. If you have a look at the screen, I have written a small snippet in which an order is getting updated, added, and deleted via the WooCommerce CRUD API. Then the second one is, like as I told you, to avoid using the SQL queries and WordPress post wrapper functions to interact with the WooCommerce database. To avoid this, what you should do is, like, you can run this regex expression within your code editor, It will provide you with all the occurrences wherein you are accessing the database via the post functions or via the SQL queries, and then you can just remove that part and replace it with the WooCommerce CRUD API. Okay. Apart from that, you can use WooCommerce REST APIs uh, to interact with the WooCommerce database. So it can be useful when you want to sync order data from a CRM or a product inventory to WooCommerce. Also, it can be used if you want to sync the product details from WooCommerce to any inventory. Apart from these cases, the WooCommerce REST APIs are very extensible and you can use them as per your requirements. So here are the few ways using like by following these steps, you can easily use the WooCommerce REST API. So firstly, you need to get the API key from WooCommerce. You can do that by navigating to WooCommerce, then to settings, and then to advanced section. Then go to the REST API tab, click on the add key button, select the necessary permissions that you want to provide to that particular API key, and click on that generate API key button. Now, also what a code piece can do is it can use WooCommerce webhooks to get a notification when a certain action happens. This can be used in a case wherein you can create a webhook to notify when a cart is abandoned. Once the notification is received from WooCommerce, then you can send an abandoned cart email to the customer. So to use a WooCommerce webhook, you can navigate to WooCommerce, then to settings, then to advanced. You click on create a new webhook button. Fill in the details such as name, status. Status basically signifies that if your WooCommerce webhook is activated or deactivated. Select a trigger topic. So a trigger topic can be something which is predefined by the WooCommerce, or you can create a custom trigger of your own using the WooCommerce webhook topic hooks action. Then you need to add the delivery URL. Basically, this is the URL on which a notification will be sent when that particular trigger happens, and then the secret key. The secret key is basically acts like an authentication mechanism. Then click on Save Webhook button. On the first save, WooCommerce will send a ping to your delivery URL, and once the delivery URL responds with a 200 OK status, your webhook will be created and it will be saved. So also, if you want to increase the number of retries of before saving the webhook, then you can just use the filter function or the action filter called WooCommerce Max Webhook Delivery Status. Moving on to the performance optimization strategies. So first thing to improve the performance of a WooCommerce tool you can do is you can use batch APIs for bulk operations. So by using batch APIs, it prevents performance bottlenecks by handling multiple bulk data in a single request, reducing multiple server-to-server API calls to a single API call. As WooCommerce recently started providing the option to implement rate limiting on the store API, therefore, it's better to use the batch APIs in order to improve the API rate limiting handling. And this basically allows you to perform around 100 CRUD operations, which are create, read, update, delete operations within a single API request. And this is really ideal for managing large-scale product imports or order updates or stock managements. So an example of this will be like at the time of importing multiple products from an inventory or a CRM, like Salesforce, you can use the product batch API to create or update up to 100 products at once. Then the second one is to use asynchronous API calls for processing. So basically, by using asynchronous API calls, uh, you, what you're doing is you are improving the end user experience. So let's say you have a store, and at the time of checkout, you sync the product inventory details to your inventory management system or to your CRM. But when an order is getting placed, at that same time, if you are going to make an API call, then the checkout will be delayed by some time. And that basically ruins the end user experience. Therefore, if you use WooCommerce's action scheduler to uh, s- eh, to schedule an API call uh, in the background, and at this and at the time of checkout, there will be a much more smoother experience, and the API call will be executed in the background. Once this is what a think processing of API call is. Now the third one is to implement object caching. So WordPress by default has a built-in object caching mechanism, and you can use it by extending the WP object cache class, but it only stores data until a single page load. So whenever a page reloads, then the cache will be removed and it will be built from scratch. So in case of WooCommerce, you need to implement an external persistent caching mechanism like Redis or Memcache, and it is basically needed for high traffic WooCommerce store. So an example of that would be, let's say, uh, let's say uh, in a certain region, a product is getting viewed a lot of time, uh, and the request is very high for that particular product. Then those product details can be stored within a external persistent caching mechanism, and it can be retrieved from that particular cache, either Redis or Memcache. Now, moving on to proper error logging and debugging techniques. So, one thing which I have commonly observed is uh, all the developers use error underscore log PHP function to add the error logs for even the code specifically for WooCommerce. So, WooCommerce by default provides you a method called WC get logger. Uh, and it basically allows you to add logs for WooCommerce specific actions. And these logs are of different criticality level, like emergency alert, critical error, warning, notice, info, debug. And on these all of these criticality level, we can perform some external actions. So it is really a good practice to use WC get logger function, then error log in case of WooCommerce specific code. Then for better debugging, you can run actions like sending emails on critical failures, or you can use action scheduler in the background for the retry. So let's say when a critical error occurs, like payment gateway failure or inventory sync issue or order processing failure, it's essential to identify the store admin immediately so that they can take some action. Let's say if you're going to send an email alert, then the email should include all the details with the error codes so that admin can easily troubleshoot this. Also, what you can do is for smaller problems like API, like sync of product API data, product inventory data via API. You can, if that particular thing fails, you can use action scheduler in the background to make sure that it gets updated even if there is an API timeout. So we had a lot of discussion around maintaining like the maintaining some standards for writing common code for both the storage types and some performance optimization strategies, and how you can grow your business. Now let's have a look at the few basic guidelines that need to be followed while you're writing any WooCommerce specific code. So first one is to use child theme for customization. So let's say for your WooCommerce storefront, you're using a theme and you want that, and you have purchased that particular theme from a third party vendor, and in the future you want to extend that theme to and make some changes to it, then you should do that by building a child theme from that particular theme, so that when that third party vendor provides you an update for the parent theme, uh, then it can be seamlessly installed and there are no issues with the code and that you built. Then the second one is to have a modular code design. Uh, your the code which you are writing should be divided into multiple blocks or plugin. So uh, due to this, if your code is divided into different plugins, you will be easily able to update them when there are any vulnerability fixes or PHP updates. And the third one is to implement an open close principle while writing any code, like implementing REST APIs so that it can be extended by services outside of WooCommerce to extend your solution. Also, you should use the WordPress actions and filters. They should be defined within your code so that WordPress native plugins can extend your code. Then you should also incorporate automated testing via PHP unit while you write any custom code. This basically helps to validate the functionality of your custom code, and it helps to catch the bugs early, ensures the code quality, and makes the future updates or changes easier. So, like, this is very important for any code that you write, because there are many big corporations which face such issues with who get multiple vulnerabilities once, like when they have a big plugin, like recently a vulnerability of SQL injection was pointed out in WP Swings plugin, uh, and it was a SQL injection vulnerability, and it basically compromised some data of their customer. Yeah. So apart from that, as I discussed earlier, you should optimize heavy processes like product imports, large data synchronization, or checkout flows by using batch processing, object caching, and asynchronous API, asynchronous tasks. And basically, this basically ensures smooth user experience. Also, you can analyze your store performance regularly in order to check if there are any database queries which is making your store slower, or if there are any memory usage issues. Once, oh, once that was it from my side, and yeah, I'm open to any questions you have. Please feel free to ask them via the Q&A section. Yeah. Okay. Have a nice day. Bye bye.